And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fire on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers.
Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes, not just cases, MotleyRice.com, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at StokesVW.com. Get your end-of-year ride at Stokes VW. It's time. You know how it goes, those end-of-year deals. Make your way to Stokes Volkswagen in North Charleston. Find us on the JB and Goldwater app and at jbandgoldwatershow.com, and follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. The Share Healthcare chat lines are open, and I'm sure once again today will be active as we all continue to try to figure out a way to react to a lot of the coaching carousel going on out there. We've predicted around here for a while this was going to be a wild offseason, and we're not even into the offseason. It's really wild. And obviously everybody's up to date on what happened yesterday. So we'll fuss and discuss all of that throughout the afternoon with Mike Morgan, Keith Allsep. Mike coming up in about 25 minutes. Keith at about 1:25 in hour number 2. Of course, he is the Locked On The Gamecocks host, and he'll have plenty of reaction to the Palmetto Bowl this weekend, and we'll try to mix in some South Carolina hoops as well. Speaking of hoops, we will get to some of that today. A couple of state teams playing tonight we want to make sure we mention as well. The College Football Playoff will release a top 4 tonight. We're going to talk about that, obviously. But, yeah, I tell you what, Darren, it's yesterday was some kind of wild. And, you know, I thought for sure, I mean, we talked about this a couple of times over the last couple of weeks. You know, we kept hinting, hey, man, something feels strange. There's going to be some wild movement, really, because a couple of the big jobs had already come open, and these big jobs were targeting big-time coaches, and we knew that. You saw the list of coaches out there that were literally being mentioned for every job. So if one or two of those coaches decided to move, then obviously that would leave those big jobs open, and that's where we are. It's wild. This final day in November, we could be in for another ride.
I don't know what is shocking to me more. The fact that Brian Kelly left Notre Dame for LSU, which no one saw coming. Not the fact that he actually left. Or the dollars that are getting tossed around by Southern Cal and LSU. How do other schools respond? How does Notre Dame respond? How does Oklahoma respond? Look, Mel Tucker just signed the second or third biggest deal in college football history. And then Southern Cal went out and was like, yeah, we're going to buy 2 homes for $500,000 each over listing price. We're going to give you access to our plane any day, any time of the day, any day of the year for your entire family. Just do whatever you want. Oh, and like $100-something million. And then LSU goes and does the same thing. Where are we going? I don't know what was more surprising, the numbers and what that means going forward, or like the names.
Darren, I have a theory that's probably my own, but I just don't know that the juice is going to be worth the squeeze with what these guys are paying. Now, look, I'm a big fan of capitalism. All right, the market tells you what you're worth. If you're worth $100 million, that's what you're worth. There might be somebody that doesn't like that out there, but got bad news for you. Someone offered you $100 million for what you do. You'd take it. We all would. So, that's the beauty of living in a place like the United States. But we don't know the answer to this question. But I wonder if at the end of the day, the amount of money that these schools are spending, Darren, is going to get them anything different than had they spent half of that on somebody that's not as big of a name. I mean, if Brian Kelly comes to, because he's getting what, 95 million bonuses, 100 million, right? So if he goes to LSU and he wins a national championship in the next 5 or 6 years, okay, that's great. This is it's LSU. Coaches win national championships at LSU. Haven't the last 3 coaches won national championships at LSU? Just want to be clear on that.
In fact, their introductory tweet or official, I guess, verbiage was our next championship coach, Brian Kelly.
Right. So, I don't know that I understand it. I'm not sure that I understand it. I really don't. I mean, the Southern Cal situation, obviously we're getting more information on this, and it kind of came up fairly quickly, it seems, overnight, basically. Was Southern Cal obviously somewhere behind closed doors, somebody was going, hey, if it takes $100 million to get a name like Lincoln Riley, do it. And if not, what was the fallback plan? And, my question would be, which we'll never know the answer to these questions, but my question would be, could you do just as much with that fallback plan as you can with Lincoln Riley for the amount of money you're spending? So, yeah, it's I don't know, man. It's pretty wild where it's going. And let me ask you this. Honestly, honest to God question here. Do we have any details on Billy Napier's contract yet at Florida?
I haven't seen any, but that's where my mind is going, right? Because Brent Pry is going to be announced, I guess, today or tomorrow at Virginia Tech. What are the numbers going to be there? Are they going to be significantly higher than we're thinking? Is it going to be a trickle down to that? Because I'm curious.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess what I'm getting at here is, if I asked you today, who has a better chance to win the national championship in the next 5 years, Florida or LSU, what would your response be?
LSU.
But by how much? Like a lot?
Good amount.
Really? What? Okay,
because the sense is that LSU is one of the best jobs in all of football. Mm-hmm. It's not like the cupboard is bare, and the cupboard's not bare down in Florida either. And they had similar, in a sense, there were similar type of issues with coach and player, even though it felt like the players at LSU really still loved Ed Orgeron. But they're more set up for success. There is a lifeline, if you will, of cash that Florida has, but just not easily at their disposal. And if they did, they wouldn't have hired Billy Napier. They would have won out and got a bigger name, because clearly big names are out there listening if you're throwing around the right numbers. And if LSU or Florida wanted a bigger name and they had the money to play with, then they could have gone and got a better name.
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to think about it from a football standpoint. We are going to a 12-team playoff, right? Mm-hmm. And I'd like to think that Florida is going to have equal opportunity to get into a 12-team playoff, just like LSU will. Those two are largely considered two of the top 12 teams in the country year in and year out. Florida does not have as difficult of a path into the SEC championship the way it stands today, because they're in the East. Outside of Georgia, the East is a gobbled mess. South Carolina, Tennessee, Missouri, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, none of them hold the water that the West does, right? And so I guess what I'm getting at here is, I don't know. I don't disagree with you. I think that if you said pick one, Florida or LSU, the next 5 years, one of them's going to win a national championship, I'd probably put my money on LSU. But I don't know that it would be an extra $50 million worth of money. Mm-hmm. If you're kind of picking up what I'm putting down here. So I just don't know that the Billy Napier hire and the Brian Kelly hire are really that far apart when it comes down to it. They both have ample resources. Brian Kelly is one of the best coaches in the sport. He has never won a national championship. Obviously, he's going to have a great opportunity to do so at LSU, but neither is Billy Napier, and he's going to have a pretty good opportunity to do so at Florida. I just don't know. I just don't know, man. I don't know that they're far apart. Now, the Southern Cal thing's a little bit different. Southern Cal is basically trying to, in my opinion, buy their way back to the top of the entire western half of the United States. So I kind of see that, like, hey, we're done toying around with this. We're done with Oregon. We're done with Washington. We're done with UCLA trying to sneak up into this conversation. Arizona State has tried to get a whiff of what it smells like at the top. We're done with all that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be Southern Cal. We're going to go throw money at the guy we want. We're going to get him. And we're going to go back and own the entire western half of the U.S. again, like we once did. And so I kind of understand that. But LSU, I'm not sure. Darren, I'm just not sure. I don't know that, and I might be proven wrong. He might win the next 4 national championships. But I don't know. I don't know that what they paid for is what they're planning on getting. And I would finish my comments off with this. What they want to get in their next coach is the next Nick Saban. And Darren, we all know right now that is not possible.
Yeah, they want the next Saban. They want a guy who's going to win a national championship in 3 years, right?
Ships.
Yeah.
National
Multiple
ships.
and at least one in the first 3 years. What you're going to hear Mike Morgan say in a couple of minutes, and he's dead on right. All these numbers are great. The names are intriguing. They're popping, right? You're watching them like cats watching a tennis match. It's like, oh my God. You've no idea how any of these are going to work out. Herman was a home run. Didn't work. And that is just the latest example, right? There are those examples all over the place. So this is all well and good. Will Kelly be able to not duplicate, but enhance his success at Notre Dame, where he's the winningest coach of all time? Will he be able to do better than that? He's expected to because of his recruiting, but I don't know. If he's not better than that, then he's getting fired. Is Lincoln Riley going to be at Southern Cal what he had going for a time at Oklahoma? I don't know, because he seemed kind of in awe of LA when he got there yesterday. Like, oh, wow, this is what it looks like. If it works, it works. If not, I mean, who knows? Maybe Shane Beamer's the best hire of the last 2 years. You don't know.
Dude, exactly, man. You really don't. So I just, there's a lot of skepticism here for me with some of this, the amount of money that some of these guys are getting paid. I mean, $100 million can buy you a lot of different names out there, dude. It really can. Outside of, and we don't ever know. Like, we really have no idea what these negotiations and these conversations are like. But outside of Saban, if I could ask you, what coach in college football do you want? Who would you choose? I'm just asking.
Well, Lincoln Riley's super high on that list. I think Lincoln Riley, I think Brian Kelly, I think both of them are very, very high up on that list. Now, if you're talking of the guys who are still remaining, guys who are out there,
yeah,
it's hard to say. I think some fit better in certain places than others. Like, I don't think Fickle is a home run hire wherever he goes. I think he'd be great at Notre Dame, but I think it depends. If you're asking me just my pick of the litter, if I could just poke one guy and say, you're my coach, obviously it's Saban. The only caveat to that would be, well, how much longer does Saban really have to go? And Lincoln Riley's like right there. That's why the college football world has reacted with such positivity towards what Southern Cal did.
Yeah, I think that's the best hire of the offseason. I said it yesterday. I don't care that Brian Kelly got hired at LSU. I think the Riley hire is better. I asked that question to kind of tie it into LSU because Scott Woodward, we all knew, was going to go after a big name. Period. The end. He was going after a big name. Craig chimes in with Kirby. Share Healthcare chat lines, by the way. You can chime in as well. We'll make you a part of our conversation. ShareHealthcare.com for as low as $149 a month to take care of yourself, and on up from there to take care of your family, but maybe much cheaper than the insurance you pay for currently. ShareHealthcare.com. So yeah, if I said, here's $100 million, go get who you want. And you say, all right, well, we're LSU, so we're not getting Nick Saban.
Mm-hmm.
So scratch him off the list. But I'm just trying to think like Scott Woodward here, right? Let's go big name by big name by big name. All right. I mean, say Kirby all you want to, but I hope nobody forgot here. Dabo Swinney's won a couple national championships at Clemson. All right, so let's see. Dabo.
He's on that list. I did not list him, but absolutely I should have listed him on that list.
Right. So exactly. He's one of the best coaches in the sport. Hey, Dabo, here's $100 million. No, thanks. I already got $100 million at Clemson. Oh. Well, all right. Well, good luck. We'll see you in the playoffs. Okay. So Kirby, here's $100 million. It's all good, guys. I'm in Georgia, and this is my alma mater, and I'm not going there. And by the way, I'm worth about $100 million too. Oh, good to talk to you, Kirby. Have a great day. Okay. Who's next? Lincoln Riley. Dude, he just took off for LA. Oh, damn. Yeah, cross him off. Brian Kelly, Ryan Day. That's where we are, right? I mean, that's kind of where my mind is. I mean, so, and it just seemed like Scott Woodward went down that list of, okay, these are the biggest, best names that win every single year, and this is where all these guys are who aren't coming here. Who's next? Brian Kelly. All right, well, let's throw $100 million at him, see what he says. Oh, well, he said yes. Oh, well, all right, I guess we got a coach. It's going to be Brian Kelly. Ta-da! Here we are. So, yeah, I don't
I think Woodward took a swing with Lincoln Riley. There's just too much smoke there. So my sense is Woodward took a swing. And there are multiple reports that he did. And Southern Cal was like, yeah, we're going to swing a little higher. And it just happened. So maybe in Woodward's eyes, his list was, all right, if I'm not getting Saban, I'm probably not going to go get Kirby, and I'm probably not getting Dabo. Then in my eyes, these guys are comparable, and right up there, Brian Kelly is my number 2. Like, that's possible as well.
Yeah. I don't understand this move, though, for Brian Kelly. Like, think about this, Darren. Like, dude, I mean, when they go to 12, look, LSU is going to have ample opportunity to get in there every year because they are LSU. But let's not forget something here. Notre Dame would literally be in the playoff every single year. I know the rule of they can't host because they're not in a conference or whatever. Doesn't matter. They'd still be in the playoff every single year. In the western half of the Southeastern Conference, boys and girls, anybody see what Lane Kiffin's doing at Ole Miss? Anybody seen what Mike? You remember Mike Leach? Yeah, he's over here now. By the way, Sam Pittman's got Arkansas to 8 wins this year. Saban has not given any indication he's going anywhere. Jimbo's over there, and look what they're doing. I mean, that division is stupid. It's really hard, and when things go awry, in which they can do that can happen easily, right there. And in today's world is college football, transfer portal. Coach, I don't want to play anymore. I'm out. Oh, okay. Well, he's gone. You get a couple of injuries. Your quarterback's out for a week. You can slip up once or twice and be out of the playoff. That doesn't really happen at Notre Dame. I mean, that's been a pretty well-oiled machine. They've positioned themselves every year to be in the top 4 if they haven't been in it. And by doing that, they would be in the top 12 every single year. So I'm not exactly sure I like the move from a competitive standpoint if you're Brian Kelly, but $100 million, yeah, you said it on over. I'll sign that here in the next 30 seconds and get it right back to you. And I think he's my ass every year if you want to.
I think he's more likely to have success at LSU than Notre Dame because it's got more inherent advantages, lots more inherent advantages. Yeah, it's a tougher division, but if you want to go win a national championship, you got to beat those guys anyway. So that down there, you have many more advantages, and not only more advantages, but like advantages over virtually every school in the country. You're also not dealing with the disadvantages and the strings that constrain you up at Notre Dame. So there's every reason to think he can win more easily. If he didn't believe that, he wouldn't have taken this jump. And I mean, he's done a fabulous job at Notre Dame, but maybe he got him to the point where he thinks, you know what? I've done all that I can do. I'm already the winningest coach here. I didn't realize until earlier today he's the only Notre Dame coach to ever coach into his 60s on Notre Dame's sideline. It just, I don't know, feels like that would have happened before. But he's done all he can do. Now he goes down to LSU where he's going to be given everything he needs and then some. I think he's got a much better chance to win at LSU.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, but I'm not like salty about it or anything like that. I just see it a little bit differently. I mean, it's look, LSU just fired a coach. They won the national championship not even 2 years ago. And, obviously bumps in the road down there, they get rid of you in a hurry. I don't know, man. I don't really know what to think about it all. I've said that 1,000 times. We've been on the air for 20 minutes. I just don't know. I mean, I've been trying to use logic behind this the last day or so, and I don't understand some of it, except for when they just cut that big check and your agent's got you a big buyout, and the juice is worth the squeeze on your end. But on the other end, you're investing $100 million. I mean, what are you expecting out of that? I mean, my question to Scott Woodward, if he steps up to that podium, whenever the press conference is, I'm not even sure if it's today or what, would be, Scott, what are you expecting out of this investment? And when he says, well, we expect to win national championships, I'd say I need you to be a little bit more specific here, because they just won one in 2019. I get it. There's off-field stuff going on down here. You probably had to move on from this guy for a couple of different reasons, probably more than we know about, that we'll find out in a book in 10 years or something stupid. But what do you mean win national championships? Like 1 out of every 3? Like what Bama's done in the last 13 years? What Clemson's done? Like what? I mean, if he says we want to win one every year, I'm looking at Brian Kelly going, yeah, you're going to be getting a big buyout soon, pal, because you're probably going to win one, but then within 2 years, you're not, and then they're going to fire you and want to go hire someone else. So
it's interesting. It's going to be hard to answer that question, too. Like, can you reasonably say, and I guess you can, now that I'm just talking myself through this, but if I'm Scott Woodward, can I reasonably say I'm hiring a guy that I expect to win multiple national championships? And the answer has to be yes. And Southern Cal, Mike Bobo, must be answering yes to that exact same question. Because otherwise,
no doubt,
you don't do it. This isn't like hey, let's be here 5 years and win a title and let's see what happens. This is here's 10 years and a boatload of cash. Go win us a few in 10 years.
Well, and that's the thing. Like that's where I'm at. Again, look, as it pertains to the money, those that say, well, they're not worth the money, I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth here, because the one side of my mouth says, well, yeah, they are, because the market said they were. Somebody decided they're worth $100 million. Again, Darren, if somebody decided you and I were worth $100 million, we'd say, yeah, you're right, we are. We'll take it. But I don't think, as far as I know, unless you're hiding something, nobody's done that to us yet. But when you say someone's worth $100 million and I'm going to give them a 10-year contract, let me ask you this question, anybody. What if they haven't won a national championship in 5 years and you're on a 10-year contract? I mean, I'm just asking here. What if? Like, the last I checked, Jimbo Fisher was on basically a guaranteed every penny. There isn't even a buyout. The buyout is the contract. Are they thrilled with him in College Station? I'd say that they're pretty happy with him. Does College Station have the expectations that LSU and Southern Cal have? No, and they don't, because they haven't done what they've done in their history. They don't have the tradition of winning those national championships. All right, but if Jimbo Fisher was back at LSU, or if he was out in Southern Cal and he went 5 years on a $100 million deal and didn't deliver, he's probably going to get fired. And so are both of those guys. So a 10-year contract is garbage. The money is almost certain. And the reality of it is, in today's sped up world of college football with the transfer portal, in the next 2 to 3 years, if you're not in the playoff making noise, there's going to be a lot of heat on your back. Matter of fact, LSU went 6-6 this year, Darren. I'd venture a guess if they don't win at least 9 games next year, people are going to be questioning whether Brian Kelly's even the right guy for the job or not, which is kind of ridiculous. But they
absolutely. Let's put it this way. If they're in the 8-9 win range, a 2 or 3 win improvement, and, they're not comfortable wins and you're squeaking out some here and there, there's absolutely going to be people saying, I don't know if it's the right hire, because there are people already out there questioning, is this actually going to be a good fit? The answer is I have absolutely no idea. But those questions are out there. And if you're not winning a title, say in 5 years, if you're LSU or Southern Cal, then how close is close enough? Like, I made the playoffs once or twice in 5 years, made the national championship game 2 times, because at some point it's who's going to get us over the hump. I mean, if you flirt with success enough and you can't quite get there, then they're going to, okay, we got another $100 million check we're going to write for the next guy because you've been able to get us to the, to the mountain, but you can't get us over it. Let's bring in the next guy.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
You're right. It's wild. Dude, Joshua has a good question in the Share Healthcare chat lines. Is this the end of college football as we know it? Highest bidder for coaches and players win. It's a good question. Is it the end of college football as we know it? I would answer for now. Things always change. Rules change, situations change, the sport evolves. People get bored with how things go and they want to change it, and they do. So as we know it, probably for now, there's a lot of money being thrown around there. Well, I think what's happening, Darren, what you're seeing here is everybody talks about how there should be a divide between the Group of Five and the Power Five, and that is true. Mm-hmm. I think on a lot of different levels, there are some Group of Five teams that absolutely can compete and beat many Power Five teams out there, but largely that's true. What is also largely true is there is becoming a separation of the haves and the have-nots at the Power Five level from a financial standpoint. South Carolina couldn't dream of throwing $100 million at a coach right now. And the Gamecocks have a lot of money. Can't do it. They can't do it. Kentucky can't do that. Missouri can't do that. There's a bunch of them out there. I could name you a bunch of ACC schools unless you had some big-time private donors step up and do it. That just happened in Michigan State, and that's how Mel Tucker got a $95 million contract. Okay. But at LSU, they can do that. And at Alabama and at Texas A&M and Southern Cal and places like that, they can do it. And so good luck to them. And you mentioned not – you mentioned if you're not beating everybody by enough points, I can't remember exactly how you phrased it a minute ago, but if there's not a bunch of comfortable wins for Brian Kelly, well, I got bad news for LSU fans. I know 2 years ago was maybe the best season we ever saw in college football, but in the SEC, you don't get a lot of comfortable wins, if any, every year. There might be one or two.
What Nick Saban just said last week, right? I mean, we're more trending towards that than these teams that will continue to just be head and shoulders above everyone else, right? Like Georgia clearly isn't head and shoulders above everyone because they're only a touchdown favorite against Alabama, whether or not you love that line, but that's where it is. I think what you're seeing with a lot of the transfer portal stuff is similar to what you're seeing in the NFL. There is more parity at that level. There's the trickle down is there to a degree, but it's spread out amongst the power guys. And you can probably say it's comparable at the lower level. It's just not making the lower level compete with the upper level. I'll say this about, is it the end of college football as we know it? No, because, people said that with NIL when that came into play too. And people were signing these deals and it was the end of the world because this is, college football will never, ever be the same. How are you going to pay these guys? Well, did it really impact your life or your fandom at all this year? If anything, I think this just gives that more credence. The players do deserve a little bit more. If the guys running it who can jump around whenever they want, but yet you're still tied to some degree, if they're getting these monies, these guys deserve a little more money too.
Yeah, that's something we're going to talk more about today, certainly. Brian Kelly can leave in the middle of the night. Lincoln Riley can leave in the middle of the night, go take $100 million somewhere else. And the players who I protect, and because the players are the ones that make these guys all that money. They're and look, I don't like how it all goes. I don't like when players decide they're going to quit, not play a game or opt out or whatever, or a coach says, well, if you get in the playoffs, sorry guys, I'm not going to be there. I don't like any of that crap. I think it's a bunch of junk, but it's where we are. It's where we are. So you can't let one side get away with it and not the other. I would say that's a little unfair for a multitude of reasons. All right. We do need to hit a timeout. When we return, Mike Morgan joins us right here on the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about: stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations: Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
You're welcome, Patrick. 12:32, Tuesday afternoon, final day in the month of November, and who better to spend it with than this handsome gentleman, Mike Morgan, who I talked a lot about on Friday night in Columbia with his many people who know Mike Morgan well, but one of them is old partner Michael Haney, very well-dressed, bald Michael Haney. Still a super guy, though. What's up, man?
Yeah, Haney's point, he's sporting the Jim Gandolfini, Tony Soprano. Like if he just grew it out on the sides, and maybe had a pinky ring, needs to put on a few pounds. Michael's in too good a shape. Jim Gandolfini could look at somebody on an exercise bike and break a sweat. May he rest in peace. I shouldn't make that joke. Like, I love Gandolfini as Tony Soprano is as good as it gets. Haven't seen anything that good yet. But yeah, he's sporting the Tony Soprano look a little bit. I like it. But you spent a day with Haney and lived to tell about it. I'm surprised you're not still hungover.
Well,
maybe I spoke too soon.
Yeah, well, I'll call you on that one.
Okay.
It was. Did you ever see the movie The Hangover?
Of course.
Yeah, remember the little Chinese guy? That was a sick night. That's all I could think about the next morning. I thought, whoa. Yeah, but it was good. No, I love Haney, and it was wonderful to spend so much time with him and Patrick and all those guys. It was neat.
Good deal. Good for you, man.
So you mentioned you'd never seen anything like the Sopranos before. Have you ever seen anything like this last 48 hours in college football? This is something.
I've got so much to say, and I think speaking of Haney, I don't know if he'll be able to join JC and I, but I think we're going to drop the pod today. We were going to do it Wednesday, and I'm like, I'm like brimming with stuff to say, and I don't even know where to start. But well, here's where I'll start. Here's my jumping off point.
Okay.
Notre Dame, for so many years, was considered the crown jewel of jobs. Oklahoma has also been a blue blood program for 100 years. Both have been in very good shape. None of them are going on probation. Neither of them has had a lackluster year. Neither of them is even trending the least bit downward.
No.
To watch two coaches leave those jobs for other college jobs, this is a landmark 48 hours. It really is. I don't think that's overstating it. And I will remind people that Notre Dame and Oklahoma have tons of cash.
Yeah.
If this was not a simple money grab, some will incorrectly point that out. That's fact number 1, 0. Fact number 2 is more of an opinion on my end, but I think it's a lazy take. But to those who immediately said, well, Stoops, he's just afraid of the SEC. I don't buy that. I think this goes deeper. And if he was, I mean, he could have had the LSU job. He turned down LSU. You think he was afraid to coach a program where the last 3 guys, none of which have any higher stock right now than Lincoln Riley? I mean, other than, Nick, of course. And even that's kind of close. I mean, Lincoln is very well respected and is in his prime. He's not even 40 yet. But he could have coached a program that won national titles with the last 3 coaches. So that wasn't it. He turned down LSU for Southern Cal because, in my opinion, he looked at Southern Cal and he saw a program that had 3 consecutive coaches who failed. He looked at LSU, 3 consecutive coaches that won a natty, and the last one got fired 2 years later. The one before that got run out of town. And, of course, the other one went on to the NFL. Mm-hmm. I just think I always talk about this on your show and on the podcast. Hashtag path of least resistance. He can go 8-4 the next 3 years, and they might not love it, but they'll be happy compared to what they've been. You go 8-4 at LSU 3 years in a row, you're looking for a job. That's the difference.
Yeah, that's something we just talked about a minute ago. And now let me make sure I understand you correctly here a minute ago. When you said that those schools had a bunch of cash and that's not it, you're saying that it's not like the schools couldn't match the offer. That's
what I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Because I agree. I totally agree with that. I want to make sure I was clear because, had Brian Kelly been offered, a 5-year deal for $50 million to get LSU, I don't know that he'd be there. Mike, I think that $100 million might have.
Oh, yeah. No.
Okay. I want to
let me rephrase. It is always about the money.
Yeah.
Like we're all going to do our best. We're all going to lean toward the best financial future. What I'm saying is
the schools can match is what you're saying.
Like if Louisiana really wanted to keep Billy Napier, they can't compete with Florida on the salary. They just can't.
Right.
So in that situation, it's clearly a money move. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, it's more than just that, yes, but Louisiana just cannot compete. Mm-hmm. Notre Dame and Oklahoma, it takes a couple of phone calls to the right people, and they match what Southern Cal offered, not to mention you don't have the taxes of California, and they match what LSU offered.
Yeah.
There's very few programs that can. These are all programs that don't lose coaches to money. So when I say it wasn't about the money, the reason that it's an apples to apples financial situation. It's wrong to say that these coaches left their other jobs because they made an extra $2 million a year. It didn't come down to that. There's more to it than that.
Yeah, Jack Swarbrick just said a little while ago, hey, look, Kelly didn't even ask me to match money or nothing. He just said, hey, I'm out. I'm leaving. So back to your point up a little bit more there. So let me ask you this. I threw this question at Darren earlier, and I'm going to bring it back full circle. You might do it yourself when you answer the question, but Florida goes 6-6 this year, right? LSU goes 6-6 this year. With both of the Billy Napier's now at Florida, Brian Kelly's at LSU. He's got a better shot at making the college football playoff in the next couple of years, and why?
I'm sorry there. I'm hearing. I heard two different things there. Could you repeat that question? I'm sorry.
So, Bill, we don't know the contract details yet for Billy Napier, but he's the new head coach at Florida.
Right.
Florida just went 6-6. We do know, for the most part, the contract details for Brian Kelly. LSU just went 6-6. Which one of those two programs has the best chance of cracking the college football playoff in the next couple of years?
LSU or Florida?
Yeah.
Oh, it's LSU.
LSU. Why do you think? I mean, they're in a tougher division and all those things, but I'm just curious.
That was my quick answer as well. Was LSU?
Yeah. It's not a bad question. And
I'm trying to compare. You see what I'm doing here? I'm trying to compare because there's Billy Napier's not getting $100 million to go to Gainesville, so I'm trying to compare the deals here to what they'll be worth in the long run. We don't know that answer, but just a quick glance.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you look at Florida, and you could make the argument the last three coaches have failed.
Yeah,
failed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's to say the fourth guy isn't going to fail? Like, it's a great job, but clearly it ain't an easy one. The last three coaches at LSU won a national title, and Les Miles and Ed Orgeron are not going into the College Football Hall of Fame. So, yeah, I think given the choice of the two jobs, it's LSU.
The reason I asked the question, Mike, is because if Billy Napier signs a 6-year deal for $40 million and he goes to the college football playoff in the next couple of years and Brian Kelly doesn't make it there for $100 million, how quickly are they going to turn around and fire him? You see what I'm saying? We don't know whether the juice is worth the squeeze yet. We'll find that out down the road. But as you know, we're taking this quick glance at some of these things and trying to speculate because it's not like the old days. The cash is ridiculous that we're talking about here. So I'm trying to make sense of this. Now, with all that being said, I think the best move for any coach has been Lincoln Riley's. I mean, he's got a chance to own the whole western half of the United States, Mike.
Let me ask you a question. Who are the best two quarterbacks in the SEC? I've got to fill out a Heisman ballot in 5 days. Who are the best two quarterbacks in the SEC this year? It's pretty simple to me.
Yeah, Bryce Young
and
Stetson.
Kid. Well, I like Stetson, but the kid from Ole Miss.
Yeah, Corral.
Oh, yeah, Matt Corral. Yeah,
Matt Corral.
Yeah.
What state are they from?
California. Yeah.
There you go.
DJ
so
Uyunglele
for what, 23, or one of the top quarterback recruits for 23, who's supposedly going to Oklahoma.
Yeah. I just had Georgia a couple weeks ago. They've got a tight end who could go to the NFL right now.
Right.
In Bowers, he's ridiculous as a freshman. He's NFL ready as a freshman. He's gonna win every tight end award. He should have been on the Mackey Award award list this year. He's from Napa, California. He decided he has no ties to Georgia, zero.
Yeah.
He just decided I want to get out of here and play big time football. That has been the cry of 5-star kids out of California for a while now. And so you had to find someone that could stop that bleeding. If Lincoln Riley can get blue chip recruits to go to Norman, Oklahoma from all over the country, why can't he get them to go to Southern Cal?
Yeah, Los Angeles.
This is a no-brainer.
that might work for him, Mike. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's going to be a quick fix out there. And you think about all of these coaches who are moving around, all of the big jobs that are open this year. And Mike, we're not where we used to be in this sport. We're a year late on it, but even, I mean, literally from a year ago, everything behind that, you would hire coaches at most schools with the understanding that you're going to give them 4 or 5 years. Some of these schools in the past that shrunk to 3 or 4 years, and some a little bit less than that. But at the end of the day, 8 out of 10 coaches were going to have a substantial amount of time to rebuild their program. But the sport has evolved. And now they're throwing money at these coaches with the understanding that, yeah, players might leave in the transfer portal, but guess what? You can also go get players in the transfer portal and things of that nature. And so you're talking about, I mean, this thing is spinning. I don't know if this will stop. I really don't, because you don't have excuses anymore as to why you can't get things headed in the right direction. I feel like the leaders of these institutions know quickly whether you're the right, or they think they know whether you're the right man for the job or not.
We are in the wild, wild west. NIL, immediate transfer, and despite the COVID year, the money's coming back in, obviously, and we're on the precipice of even greater TV contracts coming. So you're making deals based on future earnings. Many people who are married can relate to that when the missus has the credit card. And I'll tell you what was a big tip off to me where we were heading financially. When you give Mel Tucker $95 million, $9.5 million a year for a guy that had a mediocre year at Colorado, a mediocre year one at Michigan State, and within days of this extension loses to Ohio State by 49 points, and you're like, yeah, let's make him one of the highest paid coaches in the history of the sport. What? James Franklin is 11-10. I don't have to tell you, Darren, the last 21 games. He is going to be guaranteed over $7 million for the next 10 years. That tells me these are guys that have never been to a playoff. When you start paying that kind of money to those kind of coaches, and then you start looking at Lincoln Riley, Brian Kelly, if Nick Saban really wanted to be greedy, he could pretty much name his price.
Yes, he could.
That's where we are now. I've said this for a while. We are heading toward the 8-figure coach. If you are one of those elite coaches, it ain't $5 million, $7 million, $8.5 million. It's 10 and beyond. And even if you're not, if you're Mel Tucker, you're getting 9.5. I mean, my goodness, when that contract broke, Jimmy Sexton and every agent out there just licked their chops and go, oh, it's going to be a really fun offseason.
Well,
I think Kelly is pushing 10 and Riley might be above it, right?
Yes. Yeah, they're both going to be with incentives and everything else, real estate. You're looking at 10 million plus for each of these guys.
Yeah, some real estate agent in Norman's like, this is the greatest day of my life.
Yeah,
I didn't have to do anything, and I sold some homes for 500 over listing price.
This is fantastic. It's a hell of a lot better than Zillow.
I went to sleep last night. I woke up this morning with a text that said, put both my homes on the market and you're getting an extra $1 million for it.
Fantastic.
That's incredible. So Oklahoma and Notre Dame are open jobs. These are, you mentioned, this is crazy. These are two of the premier jobs in the country. Yeah. All of a sudden they're open.
Yeah.
Are we speculating on who fills these jobs?
We are. Doesn't mean we're going to be right. Nobody had Lincoln Riley to Southern Cal, and nobody had Kelly to LSU. We have a lot of insiders that it's their job to get this information, and I'm here to tell you, none of them had it right.
No.
A couple of them, I won't name names, had it completely wrong on Southern Cal in particular. The speculation, and here's the one thing I'll never know, and I want to, because I have a side bet with Andy Staples on this, because we went at it, very friendly debate on Sirius XM. I said that Lane Kiffin would actually say no to LSU and stay at Ole Miss, because I think he's kind of learned jumping ship every 2-3 years is not the best way to build a career. And they love him in Oxford. and he doesn't have to win national titles to keep his job in Oxford. You do at LSU. I want to know, Mr. Big Game Hunter over there, Mr. Woodward, the AD, did he not kick the tires on Lane Kiffin before he went after Brian Kelly? I don't know if we'll ever know the answer to that.
I agree with you. We actually had a similar conversation before you came on the air, and that it seemed like, Scott Woodward, as you put that perfectly, Big Game Hunter. You knew he was going after a big name, and so Darren and I kind of played the game with Darren, I guess. But all right, so let's check off all the boxes. Let's just go down the list of the top coaches in the sport. All right, let's start with Nick Saban. Well, you're not getting him. He's already worth $100 million anyways. Let's Dabo. Well, Dabo's not coming. Kirby, no. Laken Riley, well, he just took a job at Southern Cal. Oh, well, you can cross him off. You know what I mean? You kind of get there, and where does Lane Kiffin fall in that conversation? But who else? Let me. If I said, Mike, name the top 10 coaches in college football, how would you answer that question? Did I just name 6 or 7 of them? Who are the others?
Well, yeah. Well, I think Matt Campbell and Luke Fickell have to be in that discussion, and I think they would both be the candidates for Notre Dame. I think that's the first people you call.
Bingo. Clint says Marcus Satterfield. Yeah.
Nice.
So Matt
By
Campbell,
the way, they're all in town. They were at Oceanside. Now they're at Philip Simmons, or were.
Yeah, they went to Wando this morning too.
Did they?
Got a text when they were there. Yeah. So Matt Campbell has turned down NFL jobs. Apparently, he's turned down a couple of opportunities over the last couple of years. Is this finally where he says, "Yeah, I love you, Ames. Thank you so much, but yeah, I'm going to South Bend, or I'm going to Norman."
Don't know. I just don't know. He keeps putting together winning seasons. Iowa State has more money than people think. And he seems to genuinely love it there. But I don't think anybody believes that's truly going to be his final destination in his coaching career. So
can't believe that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's got to be in play.
So, Mike, I read something interesting this morning. I guess I had never realized this, but Oklahoma, outside of one coach, who am I missing here? They generally go for the up and coming guy. They don't ever just hire big name sitting head coaches. I was reading this earlier this morning, and I can't remember where I read. Maybe it was Football Scoop, but their history of hiring coaches is kind of the up and coming guy. They've done it forever. And Shane Beamer, according to Barry Trimble yesterday, if he was still on staff in Norman, might already be in place, according to Barry Trimble. And Brent Venables' name is really hot with this as well. He spent 13 years under Bob Stoops up there.
Yeah.
Would you if you had some cash to spare, would you throw it on either one of those guys heading back to Norman?
First off, isn't it ironic? The same people who criticize the hire of Shane Beamer at South Carolina are the same ones that would be absolutely apoplectic if they watched him go to take another job, a more high-profile job. Sometimes it's, you're in a relationship with a girl and you're not sure how you really feel, and you're kind of like, I might just break up with her. And then the thought of her going with another guy says, well, I don't want that either. I just found that ironic, and I think Shane's going to stay put, and I think Oklahoma, if he was there, he'd be a primo candidate. He might still be a candidate as it is, but I don't know. I don't know where they're. I mean, Venables would make all the sense in the world, but Venables has had opportunities to go a number of places, and he has been steadfast in, I love my life, where I'm at, coordinator. My sons play at Clemson, although I think one hit the transfer portal. Make of that what you will. But some guys just look at it and like, I don't need an extra couple million a year to be happy. And Dabo's not going to be on the hot seat anytime soon. So Venables, you can have that job for a long time and not have to worry about things. So I don't know. Again, anybody trying to pinpoint this one, there's a good chance you're going to be wrong. just like you were on Southern Cal and LSU. Like it's hard to know who's actually going to get these jobs.
That can be the only takeaway right now, right? Because no one had Riley to Southern Cal, like you pointed out. No one had Kelly to LSU. My only takeaway right now is, look, man, I guess everyone's in play, right? Because I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know inside their head if they want a new challenge. So I can't rule somebody out because there's going to be money tossed around. I have no idea where either one of these schools could go to. And I think it's completely logical to believe we'll be stunned by both hires.
Would not be surprised at all. Yeah. There's just no telling. I mean, Luke Fickell, for years, we thought that's the one job he definitely would leave for, but we didn't expect it to be open. And now it's open. And he's in the middle of a potential playoff, a historic trip to the playoff if they make it. I'm not 100% on that. So the timing of this is what we all kind of hate, right? It kind of sucks. But the moment they opened up that early signing period, all bets were off. All bets were off because now the feeling is you can't wait until January. You can't even wait till after the holiday. Like, you got to make a move in November to make sure you're in the best shape to rack up as many big-time players as you can when you're new on the job.
If you're Luke Fickell, why would you even entertain staying at Cincinnati? I think he's having a fight to get his team in there. The
one thing I've heard, and look, you guys are both dads, you can appreciate this. I believe he has 6 children that are all fairly young and all settled in schools, and they like it there. So what we can't handicap is those kind of dynamics. We don't know what's inside the walls of that house, the family, what they truly value over this, that, and the other. So there are some things there that, again, he's another guy. He's had other opportunities. If he was that dead set on just jumping for something bigger and better, he would have already done it. But that is one thing I have heard.
How much do you think the changing landscape of college football is playing into these decisions? The eventual expansion of the college football playoff, the fact that you can just dip right into the portal, maybe you could bring players with you and things like that. I mean, how much influence do you think those things are having on some of these individual decisions?
Huge.
Yeah.
Again, it's the wild, wild west. Everything is different, and if you don't stay ahead, you get behind. And the way that you build a roster today is different than what it used to be. It's not the same. You can go, like, Lincoln Riley can take this job and literally pilfer and poach players that he recruited to Oklahoma, and they can be wearing a Southern Cal uniform and play right away.
Right.
That's a huge, huge deal. You can sign players less than a month from now. That's a huge, huge deal. So, look, the natural order of things hasn't changed too much. The schools that always had the advantages, the cabal in college football, there's still going to be the programs to beat, and there's still going to be they're going to have the inherent advantages that the other schools have not. I mean, when you look at this, when Oklahoma and Texas do get in the SEC, what does that mean for all those Tier 2, Tier 3 programs in the Southeastern Conference? It's going to be extremely hard to accomplish some of the goals that those fan bases want. Like, Ole Miss is going to win, well, they have won 10 games this year, chance to win 11. I don't know if that ever happens again in Oxford, honestly. Because, first off, Lane Kiffin landed on Matt Corral. And Matt Corral is a first-round draft pick quarterback from California that was underutilized with the previous coaching staff. That is an absolute difference maker. That team, they got talent here and there. The defense played better. Durkin was a very underrated hire. They took the PR blow, and they hired a guy who some people tried to convince you was this evil man who recklessly had a player killed. But once you lose, if you don't have a first-round type talent and a true difference maker like Matt Corral, where is Ole Miss going to stand in the pantheon of the SEC Western Division for the next 10 years? That'd be very difficult.
I mean, I think those same conversations are happening in this state. I mean, I think that's why so many South Carolina fans are freaked out. I mean, they look.
Yeah, I get it.
Fair.
You know,
I get it. Like, it ain't going to get like how they squeeze 6 wins out of that roster. Shane Beamer deserves SEC Coach of the Year consideration. Probably not going to win it. Sam Pittman, Josh Heupel, my guess is will be the top vote getters. But Shane Beamer should be on that list. They're going to get more talent under Shane. Shane can recruit. But Florida's going to get better. Tennessee is getting better. Georgia is not going anywhere under Kirby. Kentucky has now turned into a program that you can pretty much jot it down. They're gonna get you minimum 7-8 wins a year under Mark Stoops. That wasn't the case before him. And then you still got Missouri can be a pain in the you know what, and Vandy's Vandy. So it's and you got to play. And who knows how the schedule is going to be redone. I'm convinced that we're eventually going to have a 9-game conference schedule. So add one more heavyweight to that list every year. When you get your little poster with the schedule, you're probably going to see 9 of those conference games on there instead of 8. So, yeah, I mean, it's a daunting task. But I still maintain I'd rather be with the big boys than not. So that's just me.
Well, Texas and Oklahoma are joining the big boys. There's no doubt about that.
Yes,
all right, Mike, before we let you run here, I mean, we had a few things we wanted to check in with you. You know, there are actually some pretty good games to keep an eye on this coming weekend and stuff like that. But this coaching stuff is just you can't.
It's stolen the show. This is where we are. This is the silly season, guys. Like, and it's not just going to be this year. Like, this is a landmark year. Like I said, we'll be talking about what just happened for a long time. But by no means is this the end of it. Like, next year, it might not be to the level of Lincoln Riley to Southern Cal and Brian Kelly to LSU, but we're going to have big-time openings, big-time coaches defecting, big-time moves all happening before the calendar hits December. And what that does is we haven't even talked about Alabama, Georgia, which is a huge, exciting game.
It's embarrassing.
It barely gets mentioned.
Yeah.
It barely gets mentioned. See, the NFL has it perfect. They space this stuff out. So when the season ends, they've got all this crazy talk and stuff to get into, you know, in the dog days of January, February, after the playoffs and Super Bowl. College football would love that. Wouldn't you guys who have to do this show every day? I say have to. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. I love coming on. You guys do a great job. But I know what it's like to host a show in February, March, April. Now, you guys will at least have basketball to talk about. But if basketball's really good, people are excited. If it sucks, people are angry and are excited. If it's mediocre,
no one cares.
They check out. They check out. That's your typical college basketball fan of a non-power. So you'd love to have all this juicy football gossip in February, March, or especially February. But it's all now. It's all in November, for crying out loud. And maybe the first week of December, and then the dust will settle and there won't be as much silliness to talk about.
At this rate, we'll have something else, though, because the gods gave us the college football playoff expansion stuff to get through the summer. Then we got to this. Now it's just sped up at the end. So we'll get something crazy. Something crazy is going to hit.
I'll make a prediction. The next domino to fall. The next thing we hear is Oklahoma and Texas will be in the SEC in 2023. That they will spend the $75-80 million to get out of a kind of a lame duck Big 12, and because nobody's happy with that current arrangement, nobody. So why don't we just stroke a check, let bygones be bygones? You've made your expansion, you've got your new teams coming in. Let us go out, and it's not going to not happen. So let's all embrace the reality. We're leaving. You don't necessarily like us for leaving. We don't want to be here anymore. We've let that be known. So I have no inside information on this. I'll just make a call that somewhere this spring, winter, whatever,
Yep.
you'll hear rumblings, if not a flat out admission, that those two programs will be set to join the SEC in 2023, not the 2025 that it potentially could be.
I 100,000% agree with that. I've thought the same thing all along. There's no way they're going to let this sucker sit around for another 4 years.
And this can speed it up if you're Oklahoma. Because, hey, not only are we going to wipe the egg off our face of Lincoln Riley bolting, we're going to hire a new coach and get to the better league at the same time.
And wouldn't that help entice a coach to take the job, right? Because I don't think most coaches – if you're a really confident in yourself, successful head football coach, you don't look at the Oklahoma job and go, I'm scared. We're going to be in the SEC. You look at it as, hell yeah, I got Oklahoma. I got a blue blood program, and I can recruit the top conference in America. I'm all in, baby. Let's do it.
Well, they're not playing Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship this weekend. Oklahoma State is, though.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State's going to own the Big 12 before long. Everybody watch out. Here comes the mullet.
He's a man. He's 50.
I love that dude. All right, before I let you run here.
I love the job he's done. And I'll tell you what, if they win that game, and they go 12-1, if I'm on that 13-person committee and I'm looking at 13-1 Okie State, who would just be coming off of wins against Oklahoma and Baylor, and I'm looking at 13-0 Cincinnati, I'd be very tempted to take Oklahoma State. Just saying.
It'll be their third win over a 10-win team if it happens.
Bingo.
They're what are they right now? 6th?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even keep track with it because it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
It's not like the
I'm
old
only
days.
flashing this up so I know because it doesn't matter. They're 7th.
But that it does. You could easily. Excuse me. The new poll will come out today, and I guess flash that up again if you can.
I can,
Darren.
So what? I mean, Ohio State's out. So Michigan, where does Michigan land? Did they jump all the way to 2? I think
I put them at 2.
Yeah, I would too.
I would put Michigan at 2, and I wouldn't think twice about it. And then, Alabama will be 3 or 4, and then everybody will be waiting on pins and needles to see, where you put Cincinnati versus the others.
You know what we need to happen this weekend? We need Oklahoma State to lose. We need Cincinnati to lose, and we need Notre Dame without Brian Kelly in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's been talked about.
Mike, you mentioned Oklahoma State. The nightmare scenario is going to be if Bama can beat Georgia, which I people are writing them off. Man, I don't write Nick Saban off.
No,
any game,
and no Georgia fan does it. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of this from Georgia people on radio in Atlanta, kind of the pounding of the chest. We're not superstitious, and it's clear we're the better team, and et cetera, et cetera. There's not a Georgia fan that doesn't have some anxiety going into that game. If you say you don't, you're lying. You're lying to yourself.
Well, if Cincinnati beats Houston, and if Michigan wins the Big Ten, and Alabama wins, I don't see the top 4 changing. I think the top 4. I think that's going to be the top 4 tonight, whatever it looks like.
Right.
And I think that those 4 teams will be in the playoff, and Oklahoma State. And I'm with you. I think they deserve it, but they're not going to get in there. You're not going to keep Georgia out with 1 loss.
No, you'd have Georgia, Bama, Michigan, and
Cincinnati versus Oklahoma State.
But, the only place I would just say this: I'm not convinced undefeated Cincinnati goes in over a 12-1 Oklahoma State team.
Yep, that's fair.
See, the Notre Dame thing, people are saying don't count on. You can't take Notre Dame over Cincinnati when Cincinnati won at Notre Dame. You just can't do that. You can't get away with that. But you can say Oklahoma State has a better resume, even with the 1 loss, than Cincinnati does.
Yep. Hey, look, you don't have to convince me. I'm not saying I disagree. I like the Cowboys. I've liked them all year. I liked it when people were making fun of me back in September, Darren.
Well, here's the deal. If you look above and beyond win-loss schedule, what they had that they haven't had before, they got a defense.
Yep.
Yeah.
They got a nasty defense. a coordinator who's going to be highly sought after. So, if you watch these shows, they talk about offensive and defensive efficiency, kind of like we do in basketball. Oklahoma State in years past out of the Big 12 would have been looked at as, a great offense, but they don't play defense in that league, and they're not one-dimensional. You can't say that this year. They play defense. They have a nasty defense. And so I would make the argument, if I was on that committee, you couldn't convince me that Oklahoma State doesn't have a chance of leapfrogging Cincinnati.
No, it would be. That'd be I don't. Do you think they'll? I don't think they'll do it though. I just think that I don't think they'll do it. 13-0, and
it really comes down to. I mean, look, this is the same committee that put Michigan over Michigan State right after Michigan State beat Michigan.
Yep.
Now,
and then they'll be the Big 12 champ. They'll be a power conference champ and the only team in the country with 3 wins over a 10-win team.
Yeah, no, I mean the resume.
Mm-hmm.
If that would happen, Mike, I think there would be an instant day after petition to somehow separate, because there would be no more proof that you would need that the group of 5 is not getting in.
And to which the power of 5 would say,
see you later. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See you, dude.
So long.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt.
You just saved us from being the bad guy, because it's kind of secretly what we've wanted anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I think there'd be major chaos, or somebody would be out there trying to figure out a way to get the thing banded.
Let me just say, for the record, in case the written transcript of this interview ever got out, I want it to be known for the record. I am not one of these Power 5 elitists. I pull for the underdog. I love the Cincinnati story. I wish we had the 12-team playoff today and they would be in it. I thought they showed themselves very well against Georgia a year ago. I'm a big believer in Luke Fickell. All of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not one of these, well, I'm a Power 5 snob. The Power 5 is always going to be better than Group 5. I don't care what the record says. That's not me.
No,
me at all. I'm just saying, in this particular case, if I were forced to break down those two teams, I would be very tempted to put Oklahoma State in at 12-1 over an undefeated Cincinnati team.
Do you we're just carrying this thing
they'd be
on.
favored on the field.
Oh, there's no question they'd be favored on the field.
Yeah. Oklahoma State would be. You're saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who would you if you had the 2017 national champions UCF? Remember when they won that versus this Cincinnati team? What team do you like better? Have you thought about that?
I haven't.
Not that it matters.
You're making me think about things that I haven't thought about. That's the beauty of the show.
Well, it doesn't really matter.
I need more power. I need more juice from Wando Power Equipment. I was not ready for that question. Hit me, Doc.
The longer time we spin the wheels around here, the better the question.
I'll let you think for a second. I'll just throw out a very generic thing. I mean, I'm not going to give you the specifics of Central Florida, but I remember them being quite a dominant program, more dominant than Cincinnati has been this year.
Yes, and you could also make the argument the American might have been a little better that year. I mean, the American's basically been a 2-dog show this year, right? It's Houston, which will be a tough game, and it's Cincinnati. I thought the American back then had a little more. I think Matt Rule was coaching Temple, and I just think that there were more programs that were potential stumbling blocks for UCF. UCF had a ton of speed, and they had really good quarterback play. So, but maybe that's a really good question. I think that would be a very close game. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, this one is much better than the other. I think they were both really good teams.
The only reason it doesn't matter, but the only reason I'm even asking the question is how close Central Florida theoretically was or should have been to getting into that playoff versus Cincinnati here. It's just a comparable to have the conversation. Who got in over Central Florida? Was it Washington? Was that year?
Oh, God, I don't remember. We
I
have to go back and look at that. But I know one thing, that UCF team that went over Auburn here in Atlanta, that paved the way for teams like Cincinnati to really have a shot. It's still a long shot, but to have a shot, because that gave the Americans some street cred.
Yeah.
And what's sad about all this is the Americans about to be eviscerated. And poor Mike Oresco's done everything he could to convince you that they are the Power 6, but they're about to be, they're about to be completely, like I said, eviscerated. They're going to pick through the bones, and take the best programs left, but you just lost 3, right?
Yeah.
Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati. Not to mention BYU. 3 of your best programs are gone.
Didn't Mike Oresco, wasn't he arguing for the playoff to stay at 4 teams?
Mike Oresco, I don't understand his logic sometimes, but basically, yeah, you're right. He was like, he wanted 8. Greg Sankey said, no, thank you.
Yeah, no.
Which means we're not having 8. And then Mike Oresco said, well, then fine, we're sticking with 4.
What?
And I don't totally get that.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Like if you're any other commissioner of a conference not named the SEC, and
you want this thing as big as you can get it, dude.
A 12-team playoff, like what are you thinking? This is the only way you're going to – I mean, the Pac-12's been sitting on the sidelines for like, what, 6 of the 8 after this year playoffs? And you're going to be like, I don't know if I like 12. I don't know if I want to expand. Bro, you need some relevance, man.
Dude,
you need to get in there.
Y'all need all the teams y'all can get.
Yes.
I mean, yes, the SEC is going to get more, but you will too. They're going to have to be filled out with somebody. So
well, you know the analogy I made on this, and I'm quite proud of it because I got to implement some gambling in here. It's the 5-card draw where everybody sees everybody's 4 cards, and I know this is not technically 5-card draw, but let's just say we all did, but we didn't know what the 5th card was. Okay, it doesn't matter what the 5th card is because Greg Sankey and the SEC already are going to have the best hand, whether it's an ace of spades or a 5 of clubs or a 3 of diamonds. Either way, so if it's a 4-team playoff, SEC has the advantage. If it's a 12-team playoff, SEC has an advantage. So Greg Sankey can sit back, lean back in his chair, made of mahogany and great leather and everything else, and say, sure move, guys. Do what you want to do. I'm fine with 4 or I'm good with 12. That's the options. Take what you want to do.
That's right. He holds every card in the deck, and one day he's probably going to be running the entire sport of college football.
It'd be better if he did. I don't know if he wants that job, but yeah.
He's a mastermind at what he does. So are you, Mike? We blew through the whatever. What's your schedule this week?
Back to basketball. I've got Arkansas now a top 10 team.
Ooh, yes,
Coach Musselman. I've got them Saturday. I'm looking at my schedule. Then I go to Kentucky for another basketball game.
Wow.
And then I've got Bama, LSU, and I'm doing the Cure Bowl in Orlando, which is one of the first bowl games of the year. That'll be on ESPN2.
Nice.
Yeah,
Wow.
it'll be fun.
So when you married a Kentucky girl,
yeah,
did the SEC say, well, she's from Kentucky, and so why don't we just send Mike up there as much as we can? Like, was that a prereq to this season or to the marriage?
It's in
license?
my contract. Well,
okay.
It's in her contract, more importantly.
Just checking.
Yeah, no, it helps. But it hasn't. I got to do a Kentucky football game this year. I'll have at least a half a dozen Kentucky basketball games, which doesn't suck because Rupp Arena is always great, and they're good again.
Good team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dog
so
club. Good history.
Yeah, I don't know if Birmingham is too concerned about whether or not my schedule provides happiness for my significant other, but I'd like to think maybe somewhere way back in their mind it does.
You never know. God bless the boys of the SEC over there.
Right. She's never been to Columbia, and she wants to go to a game there, and obviously I can give her, the whole tour. This is where I lived. This is where I did this. This is where I did that.
Yeah.
And, of course, last year with COVID, the Gamecock games that I did were from my house. So
she wants to go to a basketball game in Columbia?
She wants to go to any game in Columbia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I didn't do a Gamecock football game this year. So hopefully I'll do a Gamecock basketball game in person this year.
Well, I'll put in a word and
go ahead. Have your people talk to their people.
I'm going to be on that. I'll let you know, and we will we'll meet you there and bring you a big old jug of mayonnaise. We share that together.
You notice they didn't put me on the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
No, they did not.
We've got big fans in Birmingham. They heard you loud and clear last week. That's you know, you couldn't have said it any better.
Slanders our product is calling our game.
Oh gosh. You know, the funny thing is, if I did it, I would do it with a big smile on my face and a big jug of mayonnaise right there and just be like, man, I couldn't be happier. Me and mayo in a bowl game. This is paradise.
Dude, didn't they dump mayonnaise on a coach last year or the year before?
I think they did. They've done that. They've dumped potatoes on the Potato Bowl winner. Like,
ow.
You can have some fun with this.
I'd much rather have potatoes or chips or something dumped on me than mayo.
I'd rather have virtually anything dumped on me other than mayo.
My wife puts it in her hair for some reason. Not all the time, but like it's happened. Yeah. I don't know.
That's
what?
Okay.
Yeah. No, like I guess there's some nourishing element. I don't know. I go to Sports Clips, dude. I don't put mayo in my hair.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Not a whole lot of product with these three guys.
I need to get Heather a gift card to Three Seeds Wellness Studios so she doesn't have to run through the pantry anymore to take care of her hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
We'll help her. We'll help her out.
We're entering a whole new level of topics here.
Yeah. No. Well,
Mike, I just don't know if I'm comfortable commenting on.
That's right. I'll let you run on that note. Hey, thanks for the extra time. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Did. And, thank you. You as well.
And happy championship weekend.
Looking forward to it. Can't wait. I think Georgia Alabama has a chance to be a classic. I hope it lives up to it.
I agree. I think it's going to be a dandy of a football game. Absolutely. No doubt.
All right, guys. Be well.
See you, Mike. There you go. Mic'd up with Mike Morgan, powered by Wando Power Equipment. I mentioned Three Seeds Wellness Studios. If your wife is slugging condiments in her hair because she feels underappreciated, or
that's better than if your wife has busted teeth.
Yeah. She's got jacked up teeth, whatever it might be. You might want to head to 3seedswellnessstudios.com. All right, everybody listen up. It's 1:21 on a Tuesday afternoon. Before you hear us start getting into our live reads, and some of you go, well, I'm going to check out for a minute and I'll come back when Keith Allsep steps in. Just hold on. If you go to jbandgoldwatershow.com, the link is already up. Starting next Monday for 12 straight days on this show, excluding weekends, of course, we will select a daily winner of one of our stocking stuffers as part of 12 days of giveaways. And we have $100 gift cards to Three Seeds Wellness Studios. So if you're in the low country, you anywhere near the low country, it's right there in West Ashley, 3seedswellnessstudios.com. We'll have 10 $100 gift cards to give away on 10 different days. We also have the grand prize will be a big grand prize basket that you can win on the final day. So you can go on there and register as much as you'd like to. It'll be a random drawing every day starting next Monday through December the 21st, which is, I believe, Darren, our final day on the air before our Christmas break. I think you and I, if I'm correct on this, depart on the 22nd through New Year's. So you can head to jbandgoldwatershow.com right now. And if you don't win, just go to 3seedswellnessstudios.com. But spread the news. They are our dear friends here, and they are presenting the Christmas holiday for us on JB and Goldwater. jbandgoldwatershow.com to submit right now. It's very easy. You just submit. It's free, and you just win. No trick questions, none of that junk. 3seedswellnessstudios.com, jbandgoldwatershow.com again to win. All right, we're going to hit a timeout. We kind of blew through a break earlier, so we'll make that up later on in the week. But when we return, Keith Allsep, the host of the Locked On The Gamecocks podcast, will pop in. We'll fuss and discuss a lot of South Carolina and Clemson. We'll get into some hoops. Obviously, all this college football stuff going on. We're going to talk to him about that as well. Bowl games, you name it, right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit MotleyRice.com for more. MotleyRice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at StokesVW.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or StokesVW.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
All right, guys and gals, we all know it's the holiday season and you've opened up your playbook for gift giving. Don't dig too deep because I have the perfect stocking stuffer for your favorite teammate. Gift cards and baskets from 3 Seeds Wellness Studios in West Ashland. Luckily, my wife doesn't listen to our show or she would know what Santa's delivering from the North Pole. Check out 3seedswellnessstudios.com for gift cards and their retail store and have their elves stuff a gift basket full of holiday magic. 3 Seeds Wellness Studios, 3seedswellnessstudios.com to score this holiday season.
Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings in a good Monday afternoon. Greetings in a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings in a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings in a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings in a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard. Okay, 127. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Keith Allsep, host of the Locked On The Gamecocks podcast, is popping in with us here. Plenty to get to in the coaching world, the bowl world, the Gamecock football world, and your world. Keith, what's going on out in Texas?
Hey, guys, I'm just having major regret about not becoming a college football coach today.
Why would you have that?
No particular reason.
Because your house could fit inside the next house that you would actually have if you were a college football coach. It could maybe fit inside one room.
Yeah, I mean, it fit inside one of the guest rooms' bathrooms.
Especially if you were actually over there coaching Alabama.
Look, this week we should all be Crimson Tide fans. I mean, I had a nice Kirby this morning, and everything was well. And, Alabama's not going to play that bad 2 weeks in a row, and you really want two SEC teams in the college football playoff. And plus, I just can't stand, the little guy with the Napoleon complex that has hair glued on the top of his head. So,
are you talking about Kirby's
Tide?
If they win, if the Crimson Tide do pull, would be an upset. They're 6.5 point dogs. All right, let me back up here, Keith. Tonight, who are you expecting in the top four? The Cincinnati,
so
Michigan.
Tonight, I'm expecting Georgia number 1, Michigan and Alabama at 2 and 3, and Cincinnati at 4.
Okay, so if Bama wins, and the rest holds serve, Michigan wins the Big Ten, Cincinnati wins the American. Does anything change with those top 4?
No, you just reshuffle.
Yeah. I agree with you. I don't think anything will change. I also agree with what Darren and Mike were saying. Oklahoma State will have a real case to get in, but I don't think that they will.
I don't either. I mean, look, the only thing you could do, which would free up Luke Fickell to go to Notre Dame, would be to slide them ahead of Cincinnati. And
right.
I don't, look, stranger things have happened. I mean, look, I remember when TCU was in the top 4 and won against Baylor and Art Briles, who was really good, and they dropped them out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just saying, look, I would be embarrassed for college football if they dropped Cincinnati out at this point, but would I be shocked? No, I would not be shocked.
A lot of it has to do with how they look against Houston. It's come down to this, and it probably shouldn't for a team that's won all of its games to this point. Just winning a conference championship isn't enough. But in my eyes, and my guesses in the committees, how they look, how they play will matter in that ranking, that final ranking.
Yeah, I mean, and also Oklahoma State, right? Well, if they really put it on Baylor, I mean, Cincinnati has struggled down the stretch in some games, right? They have not, just dominated.
They've played well the last 2. Yeah, they had struggled, and then they've played better the last 2. So if they keep it going, I'm good with them. If not,
yeah, I mean, but there have been games where they did not look like Clemson on Saturday night. So,
all right, if both of those things, if Cincinnati wins the game, they win handily. If Oklahoma State wins the game and they win handily, I mean, who's better? I mean, it's about because I think there's a political side of this. Unfortunately, there isn't everything in America. I think it's going to be really hard to keep a 13-0 Cincinnati team out of there. But the question is, who are the best 4 teams in the country? And if Oklahoma State's one of the best 4 teams, they should be in there.
I agree, but then you're going to have, if Oklahoma State boat rolls and, Cincinnati only beats Houston, they'll say 41-32 or 41-31. They could put Oklahoma State in, and then you would probably have a bunch of congressmen who don't even watch college football launch some investigation about it.
What? Look, we're going to get to the Gamecocks in just a second, but what is the worst guy? I'm asking both of y'all, like from a football standpoint, is there a worst case scenario this weekend as far as the playoff goes? Let me kind of throw out a quick example. I don't see any way that Georgia is not in there. I don't care what happens in the game. They're going to be in the playoff. I think that's the only thing that's guaranteed going into the weekend. But let's say the college football playoff this year, let's say Michigan loses somehow to Iowa, which they could probably do that. Let's say the college football playoff this year has Georgia, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, and Notre Dame. Would that be good for football? I think it personally would be. I like seeing different blood in there. But, I mean, would it be good for football?
Darren, you're the co-host, so I'll defer to you, and then I'll give my take.
I'll say it'll be funny, or let's go interesting to watch, because with everyone clamoring for everybody should be able to get in, that happens, the ratings will be worse than they've ever been.
There you go. You're right, Darren. I agree with that. Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, if South Carolina was sitting at number 5 right now, there's a large part of this country that'd probably be South Carolina in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd be going, I'd like to see the Gamecocks in there. So, how is that bad for the sport? I don't think it is. I think it'd be good. It would also accelerate a 12-team playoff because Ohio State and Alabama and teams like that would be going, yeah. We need to get this thing moving.
I mean, Notre Dame could become the first team in history to be in the college football playoff with an interim head coach.
If they name an interim, because at the moment Swarbrick has said he doesn't want to name an interim.
He might not, yeah.
Well, then they would just be head coach. I mean, you'd have to appoint somebody to be the acting head coach for the game, maybe not interim.
Yeah, there'd have to be some type of title. This guy's in charge.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jackie.
Or what would happen if they just made the grandfather offer to Luke Fickell and he just walks away, and then Cincinnati has to name an interim?
Could happen.
Fickell just goes and coaches Notre Dame to a national championship this year. Dude, who knows? Oh God, dude, we're gonna wake up. I'd be shocked, Eddie. I'd be more shocked if I woke up with my head sewn to the carpet. All right, Keith, let's get to the Gamecocks. We haven't talked about them today, and that's why you're here. Carolina finishes the year 6-6. That 6 loss is a 30-0 shutout at the hands of Clemson. And Carolina coaches, for the most part, I think, I'm not sure Greg Adkins is today, but I think all the other coaches are out on the road recruiting. So instead of asking the question that I was going to ask, I'll just ask Craig's question. If Sat and Adkins are out recruiting with Beamer, what are they saying? I'm not going to be here next year, but come play here anyway. That's from Craig Godwin.
Hey, Craig, what's up? No, I mean, they're selling South Carolina because that's what you do until you have a job. I mean, look, to me, the coffin should have been nailed shut Saturday night when the final second ticked off the clock. It should have been put in the ground, and dirt should have started being going on top of the coffin. But I'm not Shane Beamer. Craig's not Shane Beamer. Obviously, Gamecock Nation is not Shane Beamer because Marcus Satterfield is his friend. I don't know what's going through his mind. I think, though, let's look at PJ Fleck, who lost his offensive coordinator to Penn State. He hired another offensive coordinator. They just won 8 or 9 games. They beat Wisconsin 23-13 at home on Saturday. The next morning, he fired his offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are Sharks and Boy Scouts, and I like Sharks. And I'm not saying Shane Beamer's not a Shark. Maybe he's going to announce it Sunday. Maybe, I've heard different scenarios that I'm not willing to say on your show about potential bowl candidates and waiting until they determine who the bowl team is, because it could, you can't name a guy that you're getting ready to play in a bowl game. I don't know. I mean, but, in this instant social media world in which we live, we want it yesterday. I mean, I had JC on my show yesterday, and he said, I would have fired him probably after Tennessee. Well, I would have probably fired him after Missouri if it was me, just because they had the worst rush defense in the country. And what was it? 57 yards on 35 carries.
Oh, that's not that bad.
It's more than a yard to carry.
I mean, look, here's the ultimate deal, okay? This was not Deshaun Watson's Clemson teams. This was not Trevor Lawrence's Clemson teams. This was not the Power Rangers. This is not the linebacker that was, caught on film sticking his thumb up another guy's hind parts. This was a team that it took them till the end of October to score more than 20 or 21 points on a Power 5 opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And South Carolina had 103 yards on 37 plays through 3 quarters of that game. My math's not, I went to Liberty High School. My math's not great, but that's still less than 3 yards a play through 3 quarters. Okay, I knew it was going to be bad in the first play. You just said, okay, let's just run it up the middle because nobody's done that.
Yeah, Keith, what you're doing here though is having, not that it's wrong. It's not wrong. It's just it's repetition. These with the exception of 1 week, maybe 2 this year, you're having conversations every week that are, almost boring now because it's the same. You had the same one last week and the one before that, and you know what I'm saying. So, like, to your point, we just got through a whole year of pretty boring offensive football at best. And to kind of equal that point, this football team did win 6 games, which nobody really thought they would do, but they did. They are in a bowl game. So, well, I guess what I'm getting at here is, to your point, Shane Beamer has found a way to move the program forward in the win column. They got 6 of them, but now fans are going, okay, well, it's time to see us take the next step. Well, what do we need to fix from this year? Well, offense. And now people are concerned because they're wondering whether that's going to be possible or not based on the lack of action and all the action that's going on. It's not just all these head coaches. I mean, there's coordinators being fired left and right all across the country. And here we are on Tuesday, and nobody's heard anything except for their OC is out on the road recruiting. And but Keith, in saying all that, let me slide that on its right side. This is loaded. It's a loaded comment, and I get it. Let me slide that over here. The left side of this conversation is that there is a lot of information that's floating around out there with people who do have pretty good resources in the football program, that there are players and there are assistant coaches who, as much as they love South Carolina, just don't love a guy or two that they work with. And if changes aren't made, what type of impact do you think that would have on Shane Beamer's football team?
I think it will have catastrophic effect on Shane Beamer's program. And I am a guy that in my first year at Goose Creek High School, I fired my JV coach in the middle of the season. And I believe you have to separate business from personal because you're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company as a head football coach. And I think every day Marcus Satterfield is on the road recruiting everybody that's recruiting, every skill player in the portal, Antonio Williams or whoever else the Gamecocks are trying to sign, or saying, look at that. They just finished 116th in the country. They couldn't score in the first half against East Carolina or Kentucky. They got shut out by the worst Clemson team in over a decade. And he's keeping that guy. Why would you want to go there? Look at how pathetic their offense was outside of a Florida team that quit on Dan Mullen. Why would you go there? And it's probably a lot worse than that, to be quite honest.
1:43 on a Tuesday afternoon. Keith Allsep, host of the Locked On The Gamecocks podcast. This segment brought to you by iHelp Consulting. How can I help you? iHelpConsulting.com. They've helped businesses all over the state. If they can do that, they can help you. Daniel Owens owns it. He texted me the other day goofing around because I called him slow talking. Well, he is slow talking. He's a Southerner like Keith. Keith's a slow talker as well. We all like Keith. We all like Daniel. Be like Keith and be like Daniel. Save some money by going to iHelpConsulting.com, like the 40 grand that he saved an auto body shop. $40,000. You can go hire another employee for that and make even more money. iHelpConsulting.com. So Keith, I there's mixed signals being sent right now. But I also want to try to put myself back in the old school days of college football, as in like 2 years ago, where, you didn't really fire anybody until after the entire season was completed. And most importantly, you didn't fire anybody who was helping you recruit players. And it used to be frowned upon. I get it. We would all go, that rat bastard. He signed all these kids and then he walked out on them in the middle of the night. Well, that's not really the way of the world anymore. You just kind of fire guys and then move on to the next guy. And you got the transfer portal, so you bring kids in and out and all these type of things. But, the timeline's been accelerated. So I try to remind myself that maybe not every coach is like that. Maybe Shane Beamer's taking a little bit of a different approach here. But we just don't really know until we see something or don't see anything, I guess. Do you think he'll have to address it, though, at some point?
Well, I'm pretty sure Dave Cloninger from the Post and Courier, who will probably get the first question, or Ben Portnoy, who already asked the question. And Beamer's like, come on, Ben, we just walked off the field. He's got to be addressed. Look, I remember Will Muschamp trying to give Kurt Roper an opportunity to find a job. Roper didn't get one. At the bowl press conference, he announced Kurt Roper was out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's coming up on Sunday. I've heard it could be the end of this week. Then Tony Morrell wrote what he wrote this morning. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, but I'm just telling you, okay, it's not rocket science. If you are Shane Beamer and you say, well, I'm really satisfied with Marcus Satterfield in year one, then he just has proven to me he had no business getting that job. And I just have to hope that's not the case. But we don't know because he has no track record. He's learning to be a head coach. He's made some mistakes, clearly. But at the same time, I think I'm going to Clayton White and saying, what in the hell was that Saturday night? Okay, they just lined it up and ran it right down your freaking throat. And their offensive line couldn't block anybody for 2 months. How does that happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
193 yards rushing in the first half. They had more yards on the ground in the first half, almost twice as many as South Carolina had through 3 quarters of total offense.
Do you think there would be, we're all speculating changes at the OC position and at the offensive line coaching position. Would you speculate on changes anywhere else on staff?
I would.
Yeah.
Defensive tackles and potentially running backs coach.
Changes that are necessary or just that things might be in motion?
Some of both.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I literally I told Darren yesterday, I said, I haven't heard a word. It's been pretty buttoned up there for the most part. One thing is, while we're talking about coaches, Keith, you and I discussed this off the air not too long ago. Now that it's postseason, I think we can talk about it now. South Carolina, for those that don't understand or didn't know this, have had a graduate assistant coaching linebackers for a while. And Clayton White, theoretically the linebackers coach, although he's also the defensive coordinator, has been back there in the secondary doing some things with Torrey and Graham. And look at the turnaround of those guys. They played their hearts out this year, and they played incredibly well. Jalen Foster should be an All-American. But South Carolina probably needs to restructure a little bit and get a true linebackers coach in there and also upgrade that linebacking core. I know there's some young guys they're excited about, but they're probably going to be heavy in the transfer portal for linebackers. I'm not sure if anybody knew that, but there you go. There's some scoop for you.
Yeah, I mean, look, that was the same thing Brian McClendon did, right? He was offensive coordinator and basically a GA, coached wide receivers. The problem is he didn't recruit any for the guy to coach. That was, I mean, I give Justin Stepp a great deal of credit for Josh Vann. I think Jalen Brooks was progressing until, what happened with him is what happened with him. But I mean, to me, that's the and look, I love Pete Limbo. Okay. I love Pete Limbo. But that's the problem with hiring a guy to just coach special teams. If you're going to have a coordinator, coordinators really don't need to have an entire position group, because usually it's a guy that's helping on the back end or is a walk around coordinator, because now you have 10 assistant coaching positions. And that's why it's tough, it's just tough to have a guy that just coaches special teams and only have 4 guys on defense, because you do really need 2 on the back end and 2 on the defensive front, because those are the positions outside of offensive line that you have the most scholarship players, or that you should have the most scholarship players on your roster. And it's usually anywhere from 12 to 16 scholarship defensive backs and defensive linemen.
Share Healthcare chat lines. Chase says, if Beamer keeps his buddy set, I'll probably be done. Clint, Torian Gray's group was the best on the team. He did a heck of a job this year. Rodney says, that's right. You got to hold CW, I guess that's Clayton White, accountable, probably per Keith's comments a minute ago about the run game. Mark, whatever happened to Brooks? Did he just quit the team? Mark, I hate to be this guy because I'm not a coach, or I don't really have any reason to protect this young man, but the information I have, I don't think it's appropriate for me to discuss. I'll just put it that way. Because as far as I know, it's pretty spot on. Keith has the same information about truth, but I don't want to say anything that's going to get me in any trouble either. So we'll leave it at that, but you're not going to see Jalen Brooks back in a Gamecock uniform if you pressed me to speculate what his future would be, Keith. I don't know. You agree, disagree, but I don't think Jalen Brooks is coming back to South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, probably not. I mean, things can always change, but based off everything you and I have heard, I would say probably not.
Yeah, I don't think that he's going to be around much longer, and it's doesn't mean he's a bad person, but make stupid mistakes, you win stupid prizes, man. And it might be where we are with him right now. All right, so hey, with the signing date coming up, guys, I don't really know this. I don't know how this works. Can players transfer? Do they have to be? I mean, I know players can transfer, but do they have to be part of this signing class, or do they? How does that work? Because the numbers are changing this year. They're giving them 7 scholarships and all this. So where is this? Does anybody know the answer to this question? Like, what are we expecting in a couple of weeks?
It's hard to keep track of anything on my end. I mean, it's just so easy to jump around anyway. It's hard to keep track of what you're allowed to sign, what you're not, and with the rules changing and who's switching anyway.
Yeah, and let me clarify too, Keith, before you jump in here. The reason I'm asking the question is because of the conversation we were having. If there are eventually staff changes made, how many of these guys are they going to try to go ahead and get signed? How many of them are they going to try to hold off on signing? What transfers should be watching for if they pass over or cross over that signing period and into the next one? There's a lot of uncertainty out there. I don't know the timelines and the answers to those.
All right, so players that their coaches are leaving, they're probably signing with different schools. I mean, that's just the way it goes. the transfer portal is ever evolving. The early signing period, I think it only lasts like 48 hours.
Correct.
So they've gotten from Wednesday until Friday in that December window to sign, and then the next signing period is in February. And so there could be guys that go ahead and do it, but then there'll be guys that will have discussions and do all this stuff, and they'll transfer and come in January. And then there'll be portal guys that will sign with other schools in February. And then there'll be portal guys that'll go in the portal after spring, that will come in the summer or that will come in August. I mean, the numbers is still not been finitely approved. And so you don't really know. And so you can only sign as many guys in the early signing period that will put you at the cap, which is normally 85.
Right.
We don't know how that moves at this point. So, but again, I still say if Marcus Satterfield is still employed by South Carolina on early signing day, Antonio Williams ain't coming to South Carolina.
Yeah,
Neither is Jack Miller or Spencer Rattler or insert, whatever transfer portal quarterback you want to insert in that. It's just not happening. If Shane Beamer is going to wait until January, you can wait till January. Maybe you think you can do well in the portal, but that's going to be an entire month of you getting absolutely killed in recruiting. And then how long is it going to take for you to actually hire a guy if you wait it out for this guy to find another job somewhere?
Could he be waiting for another guy with all of these trickle downs of different staffs? Could he be waiting for another guy to come open, have his guy, and then kind of make the move at once?
So here's how I feel about that. Okay. Last year, Shane Beamer was an unknown.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why certain guys chose not to join his staff. And whether you want to believe it or not, Virginia Tech was interested in him. He won 6 games in year 1. There's a buzz behind Shane Beamer. He kept the team together through adversity. A guy, the most reputable beat writer, said if he would have still been on staff at Oklahoma, they would have just promoted him. I don't know if I believe that, but that's out there. And to me, Shane Beamer is a lot more of a known for a guy like a Brent Key or insert whatever coordinator that he couldn't get to come last year, that maybe their team didn't have as good a year as they thought they were going to have, and maybe their quarterback's leaving early, and, who knows? I just think Shane Beamer is a lot more of a known, and there's a lot more confidence out there and a lot more buzz because, hey, he's not 4-8. He's going to a bowl in year 1, which means you probably reset the button back to 3 years. Now, if you keep Marcus Satterfield, there's no reset button to that, because to me, you get held accountable for that, just like Brad Scott got held accountable for keeping Wally Burnham. And I'm saying right now, Shane Beamer cannot afford to let this guy become his Wally Burnham, which is the anchor around his neck.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I really agree. I mean, unless there's some way to prove that consistency with Marcus Satterfield is going to turn this offense into some juggernaut nobody's expecting, but there's nothing out there that proves that. We just watched, 50 quarters or so of football this year that might have had maybe 2 or 3 good ones in there, and those numbers aren't very good, Keith. So, to your point, and I saw RB's comment there. Geez, this convo is not making me feel good about the future, and I understand that, RB, and I know we're pretty much out of time here, but I think what it is, at least personally speaking, Keith, is Shane Beamer I think he squeezed that orange as much as he could this year, and he got as much juice out of it as he possibly could with what he had. I'm talking from a coaching standpoint with what surrounds him, to the talent standpoint, to what he personally had as a head coach. It was his first year learning on the job and all of those things. And I think that they're bowling, and people are going, man, you know what? We're bowling. Like, we're going to give this guy a shot. I like it. I see what he's been trying to do. Let's make it, he's been growing up all year, and now it's time to take that next step. And in the minds of most, the next step is you're going to probably have to make some staff changes to continue getting juice out of that orange. I'll leave you the final word here, Keith, and I want to hear your prediction on tonight's. Well, I guess we won't talk to you until next Tuesday. So, yeah, tonight's top 4. And where you think South Carolina will land in a bowl game, because we'll find out on Sunday.
I mean, personally, I'm pulling for the First Responders Bowl at Gerald R. Ford Stadium on the campus of SMU in Dallas, because I have a good friend that lives in that neighborhood that I can ride up and probably go to the game with him. I mean, we don't know. I mean, I do think it's probably – to me, I think it'll either be Birmingham or the Liberty Bowl. That would be my guess.
Be a great bowl for Carolina.
Birmingham is no longer at Legion Field. It's in a new stadium. Yeah. So there is that. The top 4, Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Cincinnati. And, hopefully by the end of the week, which I don't really mind, but hopefully by the end of this week, Satterfield, I mean, maybe to me, you can go into the bowl game with Greg Adkins and whoever else, but to me, you've got to. I mean, Jamie, that is the one change that has to be made for hope on offense. And quite frankly, if I'm Shane Beamer, I'm having a very tough conversation with Clayton White on restructuring the defensive staff, because you need a full-time linebackers coach. Maybe you move Mike Peterson to that. Great God, the guy was an all-pro linebacker for over 10 years, and at Jacksonville and Atlanta both, they said he was like another coach on the field.
Yeah.
And maybe you just look, if it's me, I want $2 million a year to hire the best offensive coordinator in the country, maybe 2.5, and I want as much money as I can, because I would do everything in my power to bring Ed Orgeron to Columbia and just let him coach the whole defensive line.
Wow.
I mean, probably not likely, but that's me. If I
that makes sense.
Screw it. Hire Mullen to run the offense and Coach O to run the defensive line, and somebody dig up Newt Rockne for a speech or two.
Look, man, you'll be relevant in an instant. Pull that coup off, it'll be okay.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Okay, don't be a Boy Scout. Be a shark. Shake it up, because I'm gonna tell you, year 2, you just can't be a clapper. Okay, and go 6-6, and the offense look like Shat. I mean, you just can't do it.
We're gonna get him on the inside. Get him on the outside. Get him on the inside. Get him on the outside. Hey, isn't that Newt Rockne? We dug him up. Yeah, we dug him up.
Go Gamecocks.
Oh, Keith, on that note, my friend, I'll let you run. You still look full from Thanksgiving. That's a good sign. That means you ate plenty.
I did not eat that much, but I did call a state semifinal high school football game.
That's right.
It's a lot of fun.
You sent me that video or photo on Saturday, and I didn't. Well, I'm calling you today anyway, so we'll catch up. We'll fuss and discuss on that. All right, man.
Fuss, cuss, and discuss.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Thank you so much, Keith. As always, we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. The Locked On The Gamecocks podcast, as many of you already know, of course, is fantastic. If you don't subscribe, you should. Maybe give that to yourself for Christmas and the rest of your family.
I'm still looking for the 10-year, $95 million contract.
You're going to need to raise your rates, pal.
Me too.
See, Keith. There you go. All right, we're out of time. 2:04 on this Tuesday afternoon. Bye-bye, November. Hello, Christmas and December tomorrow.
Oh, look at that. I'm wearing Christmas colors. Didn't even realize it.
Beautiful.
This is my boy here. This fleece has been with me for like 10 years. I finally broke it out today.
Well done. Yeah, I'm the same way, man. I wear the same jackets over and over. Remember, if you want to win a $100 gift card in the Low Country to Three Seeds Wellness Studios, head to jbandgoldwatershow.com. It's all free. Just submit your name. That's it. Just submit your name. JC Sherbert tomorrow. Can't wait. Have a terrific Tuesday afternoon at the Dog and Duck. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice.